Hey guys, Sam from Sweetcorn Man, back with another video. The Sweetcorn History segment today will be on the Missouri Compromise of 1820. The presidential election of 1820 lasted from November 1st, 1820 to December 6th, 1820. There were 235 members of the Electoral College and 117 electoral votes were needed to win. President James Monroe decided to run for a second term, as every president had before him, with three of them winning, Washington, Jefferson, and Madison, and one of them losing, Adams. Monroe was extremely popular, and no Democratic Republican ran against him. Vice President Daniel Tompkins ran for governor of New York, so there was talk of replacements for Monroe's running mate. However, Tompkins lost to the current governor of New York, DeWitt Clinton. Ultimately, at the caucus, Monroe and Tompkins were renominated with 40 votes each. The small remnants of the Federalist Party were dying, therefore they failed to nominate a presidential candidate. As such, Monroe ran unopposed and there was really no campaign. The results. As expected, Monroe won the election in a landslide. Monroe won 231 electoral votes, as three electors, one from Mississippi, one from Pennsylvania, and one from Tennessee, all died before the election. Monroe won electoral votes from every state in the country. However, Monroe's running mate, Daniel Tompkins, only received 218 of Monroe's 231 electoral votes. This was because some Federalist electors, although voting for Monroe, decided to vote for a Federalist for vice president. The following candidates received the 13 electoral votes that were cast for Monroe but not Tompkins. Former U.S. Representative Richard Stockton of New Jersey received 8 electoral votes. Former Governor of Delaware Daniel Rodney received 4. And former U.S. Senator Robert Goodloe Harper of Maryland received 1. However, one elector who was alive, former Governor of New Hampshire William Plummer, voted against Monroe, instead voting for Secretary of State John Quincy Adams of Massachusetts. Although commonly believed that Plummer did this so that George Washington would be the only person unanimously elected by the Electoral College, Plummer actually did it out of a dislike for Monroe and his policies. Plummer also voted for Minister to Great Britain Richard Rush of Pennsylvania to be vice president as opposed to Tompkins. Plummer reasoned that he believed Tompkins neglected his duty as vice president. Federalists won popular votes despite not having any candidates. 17,465 voters, or 16.12%, simply voted for Federalists. Democratic Republican Governor of New York DeWitt Clinton also won a small number of popular votes, although he was not a candidate. Clinton won 1,893 popular votes, or 1.75% of the total. Alright, time for Sweetcorn History. Slavery had always been legal in the United States since its founding in 1776. Over the years, northern states began to abolish slavery, starting with Massachusetts in 1783, all the way to New York in 1817, all slaves in New York to be freed in 1827. In 1818, Illinois was admitted as a free state, being the last free state to be admitted before the Missouri Compromise. In 1819, the number of free and slave states were equal. States that had outlawed slavery were Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. States that allowed, and some were even dependent on slavery, were Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Therefore, 11 states were free and slave each, so the balance was equal. However, this balance was disturbed in 1819, when settlers in the southeast corner of the Missouri Territory applied for statehood. A heated debate took place in Congress. Northerners feared the spread of slavery in another territory, while Southerners felt that with more representation in the Senate, Northern senators could push through anti-slavery legislation. On January 3rd, 1820, a bill went into the House of Representatives to admit the District of Maine in Massachusetts as a free state. Calls for Maine's statehood had been around since 1785. The Senate used this to make a compromise. Maine would be admitted as a free state, while Missouri would be admitted as a slave state. Therefore, the number of free and slave states would remain equal. U.S. Senator Jesse Thomas of Illinois motioned for the compromise bill to be amended so that slavery would be excluded from the rest of the Missouri Territory north of the Mason-Dixon line, or 3630, the southern border of the soon-to-be state Missouri. The bill passed in the Senate with a vote of 24-20. The House of Representatives also approved the bill with a vote of 134-42. President James Monroe considered vetoing the compromise as he felt it was unconstitutional. He believed that the federal government didn't have the power to dictate whether a state could allow slavery. He instead supported an early version of popular sovereignty for slavery, believing it was up to the citizens of the territory. However, Monroe decided that vetoing the bill could have dangerous consequences and tear the country apart, so he signed it on March 6, 1820. Ultimately, 34 years later, the Missouri Compromise would be repealed by the Kansas-Nebraska Act. In 1857, it was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Alright, that's it for today, guys. I hope you found this to be informative and enjoyable. Check out the Discord server if you haven't. The link is in the description. So, yeah. See ya.